Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Sarah from Handmade After Dark, and tonight's online class to go is using the Cheers and Tips bundle. So I will just switch my screen around. Alrighty. So these are the 3 cards for tonight, and just give me a sec, and I'll just see if I can get Facebook up and running cards for tonight. And if I can turn the volume off there, because it's, see if I can get Facebook. Sorry, give me a sec. Doesn't want to let me do that. Sorry. All right. Not liking me much. I'll just quit out of that so you don't have to listen to all the feedback. So these are the 3 cards for tonight. We are using the Cheers and Tips bundle. Now, with the bundle, you've got the stamp set and you have the dies that come with it as well. And just so you've got dies. Now, these 2 glasses, they're upside down, but those 2 do cut out a whole lot of the glasses from the DSP once I find the right page. There we go. So you can cut out the glasses using the dies. Obviously, the ones that have extra embellishments, you may want to fussy cut those. These are really easy to fussy cut as well. So if you don't have the dies, you can still fussy cut everything. And if you happen to have the dies but not the stamp set, you can use the drinks from the paper. So yep, there goes my paper. I've used a mix tonight for the drinks, as which ones are stamped and which ones are die cut, but you can mix and match. And some of them are a mix, some are DSP, like this first one, I've got DSP drinks, but then I've added embellishments. Others, these ones are stamped, coloured, and die cut plus the embellishments, but you can mix and match, use what you've got. If you are getting the online class to go into, you're getting the kits, I will include a mix. So I'll include a bunch of DSP so that you can cut drinks, and I'll also include basic white cardstock so you can stamp and die cut if that is your preference. So you'll get a bit of both. All righty, and just put those to the side. So we will start with this one. So this one has a Blackberry Bliss card base. Did I just trying to see if I stamped it or not? It's very hard to see because it's stamped in black. I don't think I did. It won't be upside down, so that's fine. Now, so for this one, we need some basic white to go on the inside. We have some DSP and some Berry Burst cardstock for the front, a Stylish Shapes circle in bubble bath, Stylish Shapes banner, and for this one, I've got some, I just fussy cut these, and then I pre-stamped and die cut the little orange that we'll put on that one. So we will do the stamping first. So I'm going to use Blackberry Bliss ink for this one. And I'm going to use 2 of the sentiments. I'm using the Cheers and then Let's Celebrate as well. And it will probably be fine, but I prefer to have, some scratch paper underneath, just in case, and also just to check that my ink pad doesn't need re-inking before I start. So this one you want up towards the top and in the center, because you need to make sure you can fit the second one underneath. Yeah, that's all good. And I will just give that one a clean because I need both clean. We'll be using them again later with different colored ink. And I don't want to contaminate the ink pads. All right. Let's start putting this together. So to start with, there's one cardstock, sorry, one DSP piece that sits on the Berry Burst cardstock. So I'm going to stick that down first, and I'm going to use green glue just because it gives that little bit extra wiggle room. And just a reminder, the sweet sale is on at the moment. So for any products from a suite, including an entire suite itself, if you buy one, you get one half price. So it's always the lowest cost item that is half price. So if you're buying multiple items, and particularly if you're buying a suite or a bundle as well as embellishments that happen to be from a suite, you may want to split your order to get maximum value. But Cheers and Sips is part of a suite, so everything from this suite is part of that buy one get one half price sale. And this also is going to be one of the stamp sets or one of the suites that we use for the online global retreat, which is coming up soon. So if you wanted to get the suite for that, then you want to order it before the end of the month. And also early bird registrations end soon. So you want to get your form in soon. So there's a link in my weekly email, or also up on my Facebook page. So just want to make sure that everything fits. I have a feeling this might be a tiny bit longer than these. Let's just have a look. Yeah, tiny bit. All right, let's see how this goes. I'm just going to trim. It's only a tiny amount, and most people probably won't notice, but it will annoy me. I'm going to do them both together so that they are even, and hopefully I don't completely mess this up, but we'll see. Problem is, because I'm only cutting a tiny bit off, it doesn't always cut that nicely. Actually, I'm going to go. We shall see, and hopefully I don't end up cutting too far, but this is why I always like to check before I stick things down. And yes, I've gone a tiny bit too far, but I think it will actually be okay. Yeah, that's fine. I actually prefer that to the other way. I'm just very fussy sometimes. And those little things just bug me, and I can't stand them, and so I have to fix them. So I'm going to fix it And yeah, that looks, I'm happier with the DSP being ever so slightly shorter. So you want to stick, oh, actually, before I forget, I just realized we do need to wrap some ribbon around this one. And so this is the Pretty in Pink bordered ribbon. And as I've mentioned the last couple of weeks, this is on the last chance list. So if you wanted to get some of this, I would order sooner rather than later. So we'll just wrap that around before we stick that down. Nearly missed that one. So I just want that sitting in the center, and then I will add some extra tape on the back just to keep it secure. Even though the paper is going to be stuck down, so it should be pretty secure, but just in case. All right, now we can start putting this together. So I'm going to use the green glue again for these pieces, just so that I've got that a little bit extra time and space to adjust if I need to. Okay. One down bottom. A little bit too much glue down the bottom, but that's fine. That's what the adhesive remover is for. Top. Okay. So just same as the bottom, leave a little bit of a border around each edge. Try and keep even as much as you can. And then this one will sit in the middle. So you've got a bit of overlap, so you've got a bit of space to work with there. And just a good measure, I'll take off the backing, just gives it a bit of extra adhesive on the back. There we go, all good. All righty. Now all we need to do, so we want the if I can pick it up, the stitch circle is going to sit in the middle, and then we'll pop the drinks up on top of that. So this one I'm just going to glue down flat. Make sure it's centered as best you can. Stick that down, and then we shall. Where have they gone? Just got new ones out the other day. Dimensionals. You need dimensionals. No, where's this strip right here? There it is. Alrighty, so now before I stick this one down, I am just going to cut a small slit here. And then I'll add a bit of adhesive, but I'm just going to stick this. My fingers are a little bit numb, it's quite cold. So I'm just going to sit that over that. So I'll add a tiny bit. This side is going to sit underneath. So tiny bit here and tiny bit on the back for the other piece. And that will just keep that secure. And we'll just add a bunch of mini dimensionals. Now we don't want too many coming up this side, just because that is going to sit over the other drink. We'll put one up the top, because this one, which will stick down first, that will sit in the middle. Probably don't need quite that many, but you know, I like things to be even. Although considering how long it tends to take me to get dimensional backings off, especially in winter when my fingers are numb, you'd think I'd cut back. I suppose it's a bit like the adhesive sheets, where I always remember to use them after I die cut. And then, as I did on the weekend, I remembered to use them. But then, and so I did use them, but then realized that it actually worked, was going to look better if I didn't, and if I popped the die cuts that I was using up on dimensionals instead. So the ones I should have used it on don't have them. The ones that don't need it do have them. All right, so we're going to stick this one so it just comes off to the side slightly. We'll lift that one up. Just want them to overlap. All right, where's my sentiment? There it is. We will add some dimensionals to that one as well. And then all that will be left for this one, apart from adding the insert, is some embellishments. So we're going to put this one up here. We want it close to the orange, right about there. That will do nicely. There we go. Just clear that a little bit. Should probably clean up the floor at some stage. All right, so for this one, we are using these ones, which are the holographic resin dots. So just add a few. I'm going to go with some of the small and some of the medium ones. And where is my, before I stab myself, I might put that back on. And we'll just add purple to the sentiment. And then a handful on here. We need one more. Where am I going to put that last one? I think. Let's go down the bottom, I think. Yeah. All right. Now we should add the insert before I forget. Okay. Put that over. And put this one back over. Alrighty, there is the first one. All right, now the next one, not that one, this one. So this one is has a basic white card base. And so Darling Duckling, I just cut the center out of this one just because I was going to use, I needed the center size one or something else. So I cut it from that one. Also saves on a bit of paper. We will grab that one, and then I have cut out a bunch of elements and flowers. I'll bring the flowers out later. The one thing I will say with the flowers, so on the original one that I did, and I don't know how we can see it, I've added some extras, but I used the ones from the Celebrative Sips paper. But then I decided that I didn't particularly like them all that much, at least for what I was using them for. So I then decided that I was going to cut flowers from, and I'm not going to pull them out just yet. I'll show you probably when we get to it, but I cut, so like that one, and some of the bigger ones from the Floral Impressions paper. So you can use whichever one you like, of course. That was just my personal preference. I will, for the class kits, for the class to go, I will include both. So you can take your pick as to which you would prefer to use. And so, you know, very slight difference for this cut from the sample one. So the sample one has stamped and die cut embellishments, the leaves and the orange. For this one, I just happened to pick ones that were all from the DSP. But again, for the class kits, I will include both. So you can pick whatever you would prefer. And then there's a strawberry slush and a basic white sentiment. So we should stamp that before I forget. So we are going to use strawberry slush ink for this one. And we're just going to use the cheers stamp. So we just want that centered so it just fits in this one. Move that one off to the side. And we will start putting this together. So this is a nice, quick and easy one, really. So I want, which one do I want? I want the smaller pieces at the bottom. Oh, before I forget, this particular paper, so it's got D shapes in a bunch of different colors. These are actually really good to stamp the glass image, either large or small, and die cut and use that as the sort of the filling or the drink. So I have done that, possibly not with these ones. It might have been for something else, but I have done that with some other projects and it works quite well. So I'm going to stick the paper down first, and I'm going to add the glue to this one just so that I don't, not that it'll really matter, but just so I don't add too much to the DSP, even though it won't really matter because it's all going to be stuck down, but chances are I will end up sticking it down on another surface before I get to that stage and end up ruining it. So this will hopefully avoid that. And of course, you don't have to cut the centerpiece out. I just did that because I needed a piece that size in that color for something else. So I just cut it out and it worked quite well. All right, so we'll stick this one down. Just need to remember with this one that, you know, it's not your standard card layer. So when you're trying to line it up, just remember that it's not your standard border from the edge. Which I can almost guarantee is going to cause problems for me because it's a white card base and I find it very difficult to see where the score lines are. but I know it's a much smaller border left to right than top to bottom. I think I've got it close enough. All right. Now, so we will add the drink. So that one will sit about there. That one's going to sit over the top, and that one underneath. So I will stick this one down first. So I can add dimensionals on both sides of this one because there won't be anything underneath. And then that one will sit there. That one I'm going to put underneath. So I will add the dimensionals to that one next. Try and add them to the paper, not to my nails. Alrighty. So we want that one there. So I'm just going to use that to help guide the placement. So that will sit there, and then this one's going to sit about there. So I want the dimensionals up the middle for this one. And I'm not sure why I decided to add one to the orange. That's just going to get in the way. So we'll just, we'll move that one. And actually I might move this over a little bit further just so that the green isn't completely covered. Alrighty. Now, for the sentiment strip, all we're going to do is cut this one in half. And then we'll just adhere so that we have just a very small border at each end. Nice and easy. Just make sure that it's even top to bottom. So you just want it showing at the ends. And then we'll do the same on the other side. Okay. Then we can add some dimensionals. Oh. No, that's just an extra. I think that's just an extra backing. What's going on there? Got a bit more backing on that than I should. Don't know what's going on there. That one's not very happy. Okay. So we're going to put this up towards the top. And then we're just going to add a handful of flowers. So this tip these out and let's see how we go. I've got both the original ones and the new ones because I decided I had done the original ones and then I was looking at it and decided I didn't like it. So I decided to change. So we're going to use that one and that one and that one. That's it. So they were the original ones. I decided I didn't want to use those, so I'm going to use these ones instead. And we'll just add now, very handy that backing has already come off, so I can stick that one down straight away. Now these ones, these are quite small, so I might, and actually I just need to rearrange that one slightly. Now, I think, pretty sure I did use dimensionals for these ones. Could also use a glue dot, which is probably a slightly better option for this, but it just doesn't give as much height. But it's probably a little bit easier to handle than mini dimensionals cut in half, especially when combined with still numb hands. Yep, and that one hasn't even, that first one hasn't even stuck. Let's try that again. If this doesn't work, I will just switch to glue dots. This one. All right, that worked. Now we need embellishments. So I'm using the Strawberry Slush and Pretty in Pink ones for this. So I'm going to add some of the larger ones, the Strawberry Slush larger ones to the end here, and then I'm going to get one of the larger of the lightest ones for that flower, and then some of the smaller of the mid color ones. So the Pretty in Pink, and we'll put those on those flowers there. All right, there we go. Just move some of these pieces out of the way. So there is our second card. And then our final one is this one. Now, I got a bit carried away when I was preparing for this, and in my rush to get everything done, I did more than I needed to. So I have actually, so this one I stamped, colored, and die cut the drinks, as well as the embellishments. I've already done all of that. I didn't mean to. I meant to just get the cardstock ready, but in my haste to get everything done, I ended up doing far more than I needed to. But I will take you through all the colors and everything else that I have used. So the base for this one is Berry Burst. And before I forget, there is ribbon on this one. So we'll get that out. So this is Timid Tiger. Now this one is not on the last chance list, because this is the 2025 to 2027 in color. So this one is not on the last chance list. So you're good with that one. So you have the card base, you have some DSP, basic white for inserts, some Berry Burst, and some more DSP. And then, oh, I did an extra one. So the two drinks, so I stamped the outline of these in stamped off smoky slate. So it's a little bit lighter, and then colored them in using Stampin' Blends. So I used Timid Tiger for the orange one, but this one is actually Petunia Pop. I found that one was actually pretty much the right color, so I went with that one. And then the ice blocks stamped using the Craft White ink. So you just need to remember that needs just a little bit more time to dry after you've stamped it. But that's for those two. And then the other pieces, so I stamped the umbrella in Memento Black colored with Strawberry Slush that blends. The leaf was stamped in Old Olive and also colored with Old Olive. There is a small Stylish Shapes die cut, and I should also have, I am missing a couple of pieces, I think. They are probably staring me in the face, but we might have to actually ask those if they're not hiding around here somewhere. Let me just double check everything. Stuff falls out, disappears. There are bits and pieces everywhere, but I thought I had just basically just the stem and the orange. But if anyone can see it, please tell me. I certainly can't. Has it disappeared up here? I would expect it just, if it's here, it has fallen out, and I suspect it has fallen out somewhere. I just don't know where. All right. We'll be here all night if I try and find it. So what we will do is we will just stamp and die cut, and I may actually, do I have any? I do have a bunch of spare pieces for a variety of sets, and I'm just wondering if I've got anything spare lying around that we can use. We just need the orange and stem, and of course that'll be the only pieces that I don't have spare. That would be about right. Okay. Think not. All right. Well, that's fine. We can manage. We just need a scrap. And we can just fussy cut these. That will be fine with my stem set. So we need the stem and the orange. And of course, as soon as I stamp these and cut them, I will find them. They will be staring me in the face. Because that is always the way it works. All right. Just get, no, that one's a bit small. Where's my other one? Don't need one that big, but that'll be fine. So strawberry slush for these stems. And I'm just going to use up some of my scraps because that's what they're good for. Tiger. All right. And I'm not too fussed about this bit of the stem because that is all going to be hidden. Not even going to bother cutting it because no one's going to see it. Actually, only a small part of this that anyone sees, so it doesn't matter too much. Okay, there we go. And then I'll just cut the slit down one part so that we can attach it to the drink just like we did with one of the others. Just move this out of the way. All right, so there's all of that. I haven't done the sentiment yet. I will bring this back in. I should have done that before. And I will need to move that off the block. I'm going to need a block. Slightly bigger block than I want, but that's fine. Now, berry burst for this one. And just going to check how that's looking. Yep, that's all good. Alrighty. Let's start putting this together. Okay. Now, let's put the base. Let's put the sample card there. So we know how it's going to look now. Ribbon, that's right. Need to remember to do the ribbon first. So we're just going to wrap a bit of ribbon around the end. And just a bit of tear and tape. If it'll play along. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Alrighty, so we just want this just a little, keep a hold of it until it's actually where I want it, would help. So we just want it a little bit up from the bottom, and as with the first card, I'll just add a little bit of tape just to keep it secure. That piece is probably a bit too small, but it'll do. All right, now let's just clear some of the backings off. Let's add this one. I'm going to use the green glue because it's right here. Let's get that down. So I just want that even-ish border around all sides. And then we will add the small piece of DSP to Berry Burst. And then that is going in the center. So I'll sit about there. Okay. There's that bit now. All we need to do is add the drinks and all the embellishments. So we will add the various embellishments to the drinks before we stick them down. So we'll just things roughly in place. That one is going to sit on that. So this one is going to sit behind there, and then that will sit under there. So I'm going to add just a little bit of adhesive to that end. And we just want to make sure that it's going to be on the angle that we want. That looks fine. And I'll add the, yep, the orange to the orange drink. Just a little bit of glue once it decides to come out. You don't need a lot for this one. You just want to keep it secure. That's mostly while you're just getting everything together. So that one is going to sit there, and then this one is going to sit behind here. So I'm going to stick that one down. So I want a fair bit of that one showing, so not too far down. And then that will sit through there. So just a tiny bit of glue on the end. And that will sit there, hopefully, and not to my fingers, which do have a bit too much glue on them at the moment. Alrighty. Let's add some dimensionals. So just flip those over. And don't need to worry too much about, or at all, with overlapping and which sides do and don't need dimensionals with this one, because there is no overlap. So just, I'm going to add an extra one to that just to keep it down. Oh, got a little bit too much glue on my fingers, which is meaning that everything is sticking to me and not where I want it. All right. Let's just get these backings off. Have an extra one there coming along for the ride. What is that one doing? It does not want to come off. That is one of those difficult ones. Oh, there we go. So this one sits over by the left and sits quite fairly close to the edge. And then this one on the other side. If you wanted to, you could always add an extra one and have 3 and have them overlapping slightly. That also works. And then just the sentiment panel, and then embellishments, of course. Got to have extra embellishments. Now, and I just realized I actually used different embellishments to what I thought. So where are they? There we go. So this one actually used the In Colour Pearls. And I used a mixture of colours for this one. Oh, that one is trying to escape. So I'm just going to grab a bunch of these small ones in different colours, depending on where various elements are. Let's see what else we need. We need some strawberry slush. Let's see. Let's get one down there. And what else? Let's go over there. Now, how many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The only reason is we want an odd number. I think that should be fine. We have an odd number. It's evenly spread. Oh, we should add insert. How do I insert? That one over. Alrighty. Give it a quick hold, and there we are. That is the final card. So I'll just bring all the cards from this week back in. Alrighty, so these are the final cards from this week's online class to go. And I will just switch my camera back quickly. Oh, when it decides to behave. There we go. All right, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the cards and the class. I will catch you next week for next week's class, which is Impressions Bloom. So have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.